Hello students, it's Dr. Yu. Today, we're going to talk about speech writing. If you've ever watched the show Friday Night Lights, Coach Taylor, the main character played by Kyle Chandler, was the football coach who would always tell his team before the game, "Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose."
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
If I was the Coach Taylor of public speaking, my mantra would be, clear message, strong delivery, can't lose the audience. In this video series on speech writing, you will learn how to write a clear and concise message, employ the 5-point academic format or sandwich method, a systematic writing method for the strong writing of speeches, identify speech attention getters so you can keep the audience, and clinchers so you know how to have that powerful mic drop moment at the end. Before you can even write a speech, you must have a clear message. A message is the takeaway that you want the audience to remember forever after your speech ends. The message should be something that you've figured out before you even deploy the sandwich that I will show you later in this video. To excel as a speaker, you first must have a clear message. After all, what's the point in learning how to speak publicly if you have nothing to say? You must have something to say. I call it a message, and it must be clear and concise. You achieve that clarity and concision through good organization and writing. Most beginning public speakers stumble at this fundamental step. They either have too many messages to convey, which muddy the takeaways of the speech, or they have a message, but it's not clearly organized, or they have a clearly organized message, but it just gets lost on the audience due to boredom, confusion, distraction, or offense. Your message should take your audience from point A, where they start, and move them to a point B, where you want them to be at the end. Point A is the status quo, the now, where they currently stand. Point B is the future, the potential, the better place where you want them to be at the end of your speech. A clear message should move them from point A to point B on two levels, the intellectual level and the emotional level. Overall, a message is going to have two goals. The intellectual goal, which is expressed in words, and the emotional goal, which is expressed in design and delivery. On the intellectual level, you want the audience to believe or know something that they didn't know before or may have forgotten. For example, you may want the audience to appreciate jazz at a deeper level by understanding its history. Great! On the intellectual level, your message can be that jazz is a genre of music with rich history that each of us can appreciate and learn from. Or if you're doing a persuasive speech, maybe your message is that the death penalty is immoral because it's government-sponsored killing. Okay, that gives us another way of looking at it and possibly agreeing with you. When you craft your intellectual message, I used to tell my students to keep it to one sentence, and then I would have them tell me their speech in a sentence. But then students started getting creative about what constitutes a sentence. Suddenly, I was getting very long, complex sentences with tons of semicolons, commas, and fragments that just defeated the purpose. So now I tell my students, 12 words or less. What is your message? You now have an intellectual goal with your message by telling your audience what you want them to think and believe. But don't stop there. There's still another layer that you must address. How you want your audience to feel. You should have a desired emotional impact for your speech. You must first think about your audience's point A emotionally. How will they be feeling when you first start your speech? Will they be excited about your topic? Sympathetic? Tired? Once you have that projected, then you'll need to figure out what the point B is. How do you want them to feel at the end of your speech? Do you want them to feel energized? Happy? Sad? Angry? You must then design your speech to convey that emotion. If you're doing your speech on why the death penalty is immoral, for example, you can aim for different emotional impacts. You can try to frame the speech as being an injustice, with the goal of leaving your audience angry at the criminal justice system by the end of it. You can talk about the missed opportunities for justice for the wrongly convicted, the systematic barriers, and politicians who are willfully doing nothing to stop it. You can deliver this speech with volume and force, with the end that gets the audience riled up. Or you can make it a sad speech. You can deliver it very slowly, talking about the names and faces of young men and women who have been wrongfully executed. You can talk about the emotional impact it's had on families, how devastating it is for America as a whole that such a practice is still going on. You can bring your audience to the brink of tears. Both speeches could be effective, depending on how well you write and deliver it. As I posed the question earlier, when discussing the intellectual component for your upcoming speech, what is your message in 12 words or less? What is the takeaway that you want the audience to remember after the speech ends? In consideration of the emotional component of your speech, how do you want your audience to feel at the end of the speech? What specific emotion are you targeting? And how are you sparking that emotion throughout the speech? Do not ever write a speech without a clear message and goal in mind. Once you have these goals established, you must then build your entire speech around them. You can do that easily using the sandwich, which we will discuss next. Now that I've provided an overview of the components of a clear message, intellectual and emotional, I will review the 5-point academic format, or sandwich method, a systematic writing method for the strong crafting of speeches. A well-written speech is like a sandwich. A sandwich has a layer of bread at the top, a layer of filling, and another layer of bread at the bottom. Both pieces of bread contain and add flavor to the filling. Similarly, a well-written speech has an introduction, main points, and conclusion. The top layer of a speech is the introduction, which is used to grab the audience's attention to let them know where you're going with your speech. I like to call the introduction the top bread, because it gives guidance to the audience as to what your message will be about. They'll not be left wondering early on what the point of your talk is. In the next video, I'll show you how to write an effective one. The filling of a sandwich, or the middle layer of a speech, are the main points, which provide the substantive arguments and content that all support your message previewed in the introduction. Main points, like the filling to a sandwich, are the most substantial parts of the speech. A sandwich without filling is just 2 pieces of bread. A speech without the main points is just an introduction and conclusion. If the main points are not well crafted, then the speech will not go well with the audience. Just like a sandwich, poorly tasting meat and vegetables will not taste good no matter how good the bread is. In a later video, I will show you how to craft effective main points and to organize them for the most memorable message. Lastly, now that we understand the purpose the introduction and main points serve in a speech, I will discuss the conclusion, or the bottom piece of bread in the sandwich. The conclusion's job is to summarize the main points and reiterate the message one last time. It should always end on a bang, or with a mic drop moment. In a later video, I'll show you how to write a structured conclusion and how to drop a clincher so your conclusion has that lasting mic drop impression that the audience won't forget. In summary, an easy way to remember the 3 components of a good speech, the introduction, main points, and conclusion, is to think of a sandwich. A sandwich has the top layer, filling, and bottom layer. The sandwich's top layer, the introduction, tells your audience what you're going to tell them. The filling of a sandwich, the main points of a speech, tells your audience the points. Lastly, the bottom layer of the sandwich, the conclusion, tells your audience the point that you told them. The sandwich can be summarized in a simple phrase. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Now that you know the overall layout of the sandwich, we'll start with the introduction section in the next video.